Hi everyone. This week we're going to be covering lessons 21 through 24. So let's get started. This week you're going to need your lessons manual, the student worksheets, the math card games manual and the game cards, the abacus, the dry erase board, place value cards, and the base 10 picture cards that look something like this. We'll go over those in just a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 21. In lesson 21, we are going to continue working on mental math. This is a skill that's not expected to be mastered today or even during this week. However, the strategies your child will learn will help improve their mental math skills. Under the section called Adding Mentally, you're going to help your child learn to remember what the problem is. And there are two steps they will provide. The first is to have your child say the problem back to you. So if you say, how much is 29 plus 2, your child needs to say out loud back to you 29 plus 2. Another help is for your child to put the first number on side 2 of the abacus to help them remember it. So they only have to remember the second digit. So if they have 29 plus 2, they're going to put 29 on the abacus and they're going to think plus 2. If your child does continue to struggle to remember the problem, you can still write the problem on the whiteboard. That being said, you're going to want to try to stretch your child to their ability. Try to remember as much as they can. If you have a struggling learner in your home, you will need to take into consideration their abilities and make the necessary concessions for them. You will also use the strategies taught last week to solve the problems in the middle of the first page of lesson 21. If your child does not remember those strategies, you can review those strategies by looking at lesson 20. The game for lesson 21 is the corners game, which you played last week. You're going to want to continue to have your child do the mental math to keep their score. If your child needs to use their abacus to solve any of the problems keeping score, make sure they use side 2 of the abacus. The conclusion for this lesson is actually a couple of word problems. And don't forget that you can change the name of the person in the word problem to reflect your child's name or maybe their siblings or friend's name just to make it a little bit more fun. Okay, let's turn to lesson 22. In the warm-up section, you're going to continue to work on mental math addition by verbally saying the problems. If your child needs it, remind them of what they learned in lesson 21 to repeat the problem back to you and to also use the abacus. But if you need to, you can also write the problems on the whiteboard. On the bottom of the first page of the lesson, you are going to play a card game that is called Rows and Columns. This is a fun game and one of my daughter's favorite games. This game does not have a blog though, so if you have any questions about how to play the game, don't hesitate to call or email us. We are happy to help you learn how to play that game. You are also going to want to play this game for about 10 minutes. Once you finish playing that game, take a look at the top of the second page of the lesson. You're going to be you will be instructed to ask your child to solve a problem in 2 different ways. It is important that your child understands that there's more than one way to solve any problem. This activity might stretch your child's thinking skills a little, and you might get them out of their comfort zone, and you might even see them getting a little frustrated. If that's the case, take a look at that last line, or one of the last groupings of comments made under the explanation section. It says, you might remind the child that it is important to keep trying. By working hard, skills can be improved. Learning is hard, isn't it? And the harder your child works, the easier things will get later. So throwing in some encouragements along the way is helpful to them, especially if they're having a hard time thinking of a second way to solve a problem. If they are still continuing to struggle, finding a way, you might want to give a couple little hints along the way, instead of just coming right out and telling them the second way of solving the problem. Okay, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 23. Lesson 23 is the first review and games lesson. I used to celebrate whenever I turned the page and saw review and games lesson because it is a day off, or almost a full day off for me teaching math anyway. You are going to have your child complete only one of the worksheets. Either have them complete worksheet 7A or 7B. The second worksheet is there if you want to add a quiz later on, or if you find that your child struggled through part of the worksheet or even a section of the worksheet, you have another one to give at a later date. If your child does struggle with something on the worksheet, you're going to want to go back and spend a day or two reviewing the material that was taught in the previous lessons, or if it's math facts, then just play some math card games. Once you have reviewed that material enough, then you can go ahead and give them the second worksheet if you wish. Once the worksheet has been completed in lesson 23, you can play the math card games as shown at the bottom of the first page of lesson 23. There are 2 games listed to play. The corners game, of course, which you've played previously, and the new game is called Addition Array Game, and we do have a blog for that game. It's called 2017 Summer Game Number 16 Addition Array. All right, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 24. This lesson is going to work on place value. Even if your child knows place value, do not skip these activities. They are foundational for your child's understanding of multi-digit adding and carrying. In the warm-up section, your child is going to solve some mental math problems. Again, write the numbers or the problem on the board only if your child needs it to be written on the board. Try to have your child use the helps that they learned in lesson 21 to remember the problem while they're solving it. This will be your first lesson where you use the base 10 cards. So let's kind of go over those cards. The first card is the 1 card, and this represents the 1 card is represented by 1 bead. So all of the base 10 cards is going to reflect what it looks like on the abacus. So this is 1 bead representing the 1's place. This would be the 10's place. And you can kind of see this would be 1 row of the abacus, the 5 blue beads and the 5 yellow beads. So a 10. This card represents the 100's place value, 100, and it has 100 beads on it, just like the abacus has 100 beads. And the last card is the thousands card, and it kind of looks like you have 10 abacuses stacked upon each other, which would give you 1,000 beads. In this lesson, your child will build numbers using the abacus, the base 10 cards, and the place value cards. You might want to look at the top of the second page of the lesson under the explanation that will show you how the child is to overlap their place value cards to create that number. Also, on page 2 of the lesson, your child is going to compose the number 2,468 using the base 10 picture cards, the place value cards, and the abacus. Make sure that when your child is showing the base 10 cards that they use 2 columns, just like they do when they use side 2 of the abacus. There is a picture of what it's supposed to look like in the middle of the second page of the lesson. By using these 3 manipulatives, the abacus, the base 10 cards, and the place value cards, your child is going to be able to practice and learn and understand place values so much better. So do not skip this activity. It's actually really, really important. Once your child understands how to use the base 10 cards with the place value cards and abacus, then they can go ahead and work on worksheet 8. You may find that your child needs more practice using the base 10 cards, so you may want to provide another couple numbers for them to practice the base 10 cards. Once they finally understand the base 10 cards, then go ahead and have them work on worksheet 8. On the worksheet, you will see that your child will be filling in the numbers for the place value cards. This activity is actually groundwork for expanded notation that your child is going to learn and need to know in the next couple years. If you have a really sharp child or a curious child, you may want to take them on a math field trip and explore expanded notation and kind of learn what that is. It's not required and it's not necessary, but it might be a fun exploration. There is not a math card game for lesson 24, so you're going to want to pick a game that will cover the material that your child needs to get some extra work on. Well, that's it for the week. If you have any questions or concerns as you work through the lessons, feel free to email us or call us for help. We are here to help you. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week when we talk about lessons 25 through 28. Have a great day, everybody.